A lot going on with House of the Dragon, so let us get right to it. After months of speculation, we now have a clear idea of who the majority of the actors are playing. As I reported a few months ago, McTavish joined the cast, but we didn't quite know who he was playing, but now it's been made official. So now, at least with the first season, we have a better picture of who the major players are and who will show up and who will not show up. To be sure, there are probably going to still be a few more casting surprises, but now it seems we at least have a good idea of who the major players are. And on top of this, George Martin himself has some additional news. Some of this will be welcome, but some of this I think will not be welcomed by the new fans or as well as the old fans. So, what does he have to say? Well, one of the distinctive marks, at least with Game of Thrones for the early seasons, is he would always contribute one full episode, write an entire script for one episode per season. But after, but in the later seasons, he stopped doing this and went back to concentrating on the books. Not necessarily A Song of Ice and Fire, but concentrating on his book work, and didn't really contribute to the writing at all. But now with House of the Dragon, he's promising that episode one at least will bear a huge imprint of his influence. Again, it's not clear he's actually writing the entire episode, but he is giving a lot of major feedback on the first episode. So at least the first episode will bear a huge mark of George Martin's influence. And on top of this, in a podcast with Ryan, who is the showrunner for House of the Dragon, he's confirmed that a lot of dragons will appear in season one. George even gave a specific number, namely that 17, yes, 17 dragons will be set to appear in season one of House of the Dragon.
Of course, I'm looking forward to the dragons. Obviously, I love the dragons, and we had three of them in Game of Thrones, but now we got like 17 of them, and hopefully they'll each have their own personalities. They'll be instantly recognizable when you see them, the colors and all of that, because the dragons do have personalities. In the books, and it'll be great to see that come alive. And the dragon riders, that's that's all that's all pretty cool.
While there are a lot of complaints about Game of Thrones, I think one consensus is that the dragons were fairly well done in terms of special effects. Again, they could be better. The only major complaint is, besides Drogo, they didn't really have much of a personality onto themselves. But in this series, the dragons will have a very distinct personality. So the dragons will have a very distinct personality in this series. And so, unlike Game of Thrones, it won't just be kind of Drogo standing in for all the dragons. We're going to get a lot of dragons, but a lot of good characterization with them. So now we have a much better snapshot of what House of the Dragon is, including some new photos with Millie Alcock, and I think she looks fantastic. I think she looks very tough and sexy, and she actually looks a lot like Daenerys, so it's interesting. Now, she doesn't look at all like the older actress, but there you go. So it's a little mixed all over the place in terms of what is being promised and what we will get. But with the new released photos, we are definitely going to get a lot of dragons fighting because a lot of the photos do signify that there's going to be war councils. So the photos indicate that the Targaryens are definitely going to go to war with one another, and a lot of the battles will feature the dragons, which I think some people were fearful that the dragons would not show up. Thus far, we only have some concept art of the dragons, so we really don't know quite yet how they're going to look or how they're going to be used within the show, but there's going to be a lot of them. So in totality, we have now a much better preview even without the trailer. But in terms of when it will be released or how, we still don't know. A lot of speculation is it's going to be in April in the next year, but we really don't know. But we now have a much clearer idea what they're going to do with House of the Dragon. On the downside, I'd have to say it does have a bit of a CW kind of flair to it with a lot of these romantic couples. And a lot of the male characters, frankly, look a little pathetic and they look weird in their costumes. So, again, it's very, very mixed. But again, some of the other actors look very impressive in their costumes, and we now have a clear idea with the casting. A lot of dragons will show up, and George, at least at the very beginning, will be helping with the writing. So, it's a lot of reasons now to be engaged with House of Dragon. But again, a lot of fans are now alienated from George himself. So, him participating in the writing might be one of those it's too little too late kind of gestures to really try to get the fans back in, but we'll see. But there we are with House of Dragon. A very good preview of what to expect, but will it be enough for the fans? We shall have to wait and see. Thanks for listening.